Hey, what's up guys? MKBHD here with a long-awaited high-definition video review of the Azza Hurrican 2000 Full Tower ATX case. This is a computer case that is definitely going to be used by a lot of enthusiasts who are building their own PCs like me, and this was actually one of my top choices when it came to picking a case. So let me first give you guys a hardware tour of it. First, we can go ahead and check out the top here. I'll zoom in a little bit. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4 inch hard drive bays. Then we go ahead and zoom down, and behind these two fans on the right hand side here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can't see the sixth one at the bottom, 6 hot swappable hard drive bays. Those are all the hard drive bays, and they all have a module behind them. So you can go ahead and release the bay just by pulling it to this side and taking it out. And you can see these are all sturdy bays. They're all made of a nice carbon and plastic composite, so this will be great for any bays you plan to install in here. Up at the top of the case, we have a couple of other things I need to show you. On the left-hand side, you have 2 USB 2.0 ports, audio in and out, a USB 3.0 port, and an eSATA port. And at the top, you also have your power and reset switch. This case is called the Hurrican 2000 for its extreme air moving abilities. This case happens to move a lot of air, and that is thanks in part to this side panel, which houses 2 huge 230mm fans as part of the cooling system. Sure, that does make the 2 windows a little bit smaller for looking into your case, but this isn't really a showcase. This is really for moving a lot of air. And you can see that this is fully enclosed in its own separate enclosure, which is really nice for a side panel. Taking a look inside the case itself, you can see the drive bays at the top there, and moving down to the bottom you'll see all your hot swappable drive modules, including the 2 bottom ones, which I figured out are not actually hot swappable. You still have a lot of room for hard drives though. Those are your rainbow cables that are coming from the front I/O ports, which have your USB 3.0, your USB 2.0, and all those sorts of things that are all housed right there. And they are utilizing these cable management holes that are at the top, over here, right there, and there. So there's a lot of room for hiding your cables behind the motherboard tray to give you a lot of room for airflow through this case. You also have a lot more stuff for air cooling. You can see at the top there are these fins that sort of jet out the case like this, and those house 2 200mm fans at the top, which is a lot of top exhaust for any full tower case. Over on the left hand side here you have a 120mm going out the back and 140mm going out that side of the case, which I'll show you in a minute. You also have your motherboard standoffs, which are already on the case, and you have 7 PCI expansion slots for your graphics cards, sound cards, USB cards, and things like that. At the bottom you have your power tray, which you can obviously mount your power supply on. There's these 4 rubber grommets that you can keep your power supply elevated, and that's especially good if you're mounting this a case like this on a carpet or a floor that you need a little bit of room for the fans to blow out. The interior of this case is also a really nice black. They did a good job of making the whole case black, so if you have a nice black and brown setup going on like I do, this is definitely going to match your setup and really stays neutral in an office like this. With the case turned around to the back, you can see the rubber feet that it stands on, the bottom mounted power supply, 2 water cooling grommets on the right which have air cooling holes around them, the 7 PCI expansion slots next to it. There's the place where your motherboard I/O shield will go, and the place where the back facing fan is, and these 2 are the 2 fan controls for the 2 200mm fans at the top. I wish those were in a more accessible place, but it's still nice to have. And then at the top you have more cooling and another water cooling grommet. The entire side of the case behind the motherboard tray is nicely protruded, so you have enough room to hide a lot of cables behind there. Even if you do have, a lot of graphics cards and all the things you need to route back there, there's enough room in that side of the Azza Hurrican 2000 case that you'll have plenty of room for cables, and you won't have to worry about having cables in the way of your airflow. Still looking at the back of the case here, you can get a good idea of the airflow that you're going to get with a case like this, with the fins pointing out the back and still pointing a whole lot of air right out the top of the case. That's all the hot air coming out the top, and it's really nicely directed by these fins above the case. That also adds to the style of it, which look really good. Looking from behind into the front of the case here, you can also see that there are 4 of the hot swappable drives. So any of the drives you put in those 4 will be hot swappable as long as you connect them with those SATA and power cables properly. And the other that are below those hot swappable drive bays are just permanent bays, so you won't be able to take them out. I personally don't use hot swapping that often. I typically leave a solid state drive in and a regular hard drive for storage, but this is always a nice feature to have, and I definitely do appreciate Azza including it. A case with this many fans and this much air cooling is definitely always a really nice thing to see air filters or dust filters on large fans like this, and those are definitely present. both on the power supply tray in the bottom, and over here in the front 5¼ inch bays with the mesh on the front, you also have dust filters. So it's really nice that Azza includes these with all the mesh and see-through parts of the case. They'll all have dust filters, so you won't get anything nasty in there. Overall, the Hurricane 2000 case by Azza really did impress me and is one of my favorite full tower cases, as it does have support for all types of motherboard sizes and things like that, and I really did enjoy it. So the pros of this case, I'll start off with the pros. It does have a lot of airflow, almost excessive airflow, so if you're using hot parts like the high-end i7 or the higher-end AMD chips, you're going to want to use these, or if you have a really hot graphics card and things like that, this case is definitely going to be beneficial for you. And the cons of the case, well, if you look up the dimensions, it is a pretty big case, so if you don't have enough room for this in your setup, you might want to look for a smaller mid-tower case, or even a smaller size full tower case, but make sure you have enough room for your parts. So if you really don't have a size limit and you really want to go all out with a high airflow, high performance case, then may I suggest the Azza Hurricane 2000. This has been MKBHD with a high definition video review. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.